Hey. What y'all gonna do? We'll cruise up among the stars. No matter what you do, I'll get you back up off the wall. Yes, sir. Yo, life is full of options, switching all the time, but the quickest way from A to B is still a straight line. I ain't lying, that is science. I'm trying to explain, cause if you apply determination, you can do anything you can put your mind to. Give me the audio chord so I can find something to ride to. We're about to fly to another planet. Is magical, warp speed like it's intergalactic. The way you make me feel, let's dip, cause we can fly in my starship like Han Solo by the castle mines, like Cowboy Bebop with jet and spies, like Captain Kirk on the Enterprise. We can travel far like a Dharma did in a battle star. I'm flinging haters like a catapult. You feel the heat, take it off. Like what y'all gonna do? We'll cruise up among the stars. No matter what you do, I'll get you back up off the wall. Yes, sir. Keep your windows down. Breeze hitting, you didn't know, but you know now. I'm not kidding, there ain't no stopping. BSing is not an option. I just wanna see everybody rocking. I wanna see you getting higher than a rocket. Land a spacecraft with Neil and Buzz Aldrin. She in the cockpit, cruising at an altitude up there where all the stars live. Take the TARDIS back to Gallifrey, we're the guardians of the galaxy. Like Superman and Lois Lane, go to Cybertron on the Astro train. I just want to see you do your thing. If you don't know now, then you'll learn. From the earth to the moon, influenced by Jules Verne. I'm not concerned about what y'all gonna do. We'll cruise up among the stars. No matter what you do, I'll get you back up off the wall. Yes, sir.
Packing up for another trip. If you drive by my way, really there is no rush to this. We can rock night and day. Intergalactic love for this. Take me to outer space. Pick me up on that mothership so we can fly away, fly away.
I get in trouble sometimes. You make me wonder where we're flying to this summer.
Are we going somewhere?
I get in trouble sometimes. You make me wonder where we're
Okay.
flying to this summer. I get in trouble sometimes. You make me wonder where we're flying to this summer.
Where we going, baby?
Ooh. I get in trouble sometimes. You make me wonder where we're flying to this summer. Like
What y'all trying to do?
hey, 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 hey. What y'all gonna do? We'll cruise up among the stars. No matter what you do, I'll get you back up off the wall. Yes, sir. Yo, life is full of options, switching all the time, but the quickest way from A to B is still a straight line. I ain't lying, that is science. I'm trying to explain, cause if you apply determination, you can do anything you can put your mind to. Give me the audio chord so I can find something to ride to. We're about to fly to another planet. Is magical, warp speed like it's intergalactic. The way you make me feel, let's dip, cause we can fly in my starship like Han Solo by the castle mines, like Cowboy Bebop with jet and spies, like Captain Kirk on the Enterprise. We can travel far like a Dharma did in a battle star. I'm flinging haters like a catapult. You feel the heat, take it off. Like what y'all gonna do? We'll cruise up among the stars. No matter what you do, I'll get you back up off the wall. Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I I know Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy. Cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo, ayy.
Hey everybody, we are back. It's another Wednesday night at 8 p.m. It is the Relationship Gumbo Podcast Live Edition. And I'm glad y'all are here. Make sure, if you haven't shared this already, share it. If you haven't gone to the YouTube page, which you should be watching it from anyway, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you click the bell so you can get all of the notifications for any future shows. And once you subscribe, you can go back and look at all the past shows. There's a whole lot of them. To go back and find yourself in those shows. I guarantee you sitting there in a few of them. So make sure you do that. If this is your first time, this podcast is also an audio podcast. So not only can you watch me live and see me moving, you can actually listen to this in your spare time on your headphones in your car. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, everywhere. Anywhere you can get a podcast, I am there. So make sure you do that. And the other important thing that we need to talk about is the Real Shop Talk. Real Shop Talk is a show that I am a proud co-host of that airs every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. And it's just 5 gentlemen giving you perspectives from men that have a goal of building community, building relationships, and really championing us working together versus separate. So make sure you go there by going to realshoptalk.net, and you can see everybody's profile, and you also can see the upcoming shows. So make sure you do that and stay connected to that. So before we get into the show, I have an amazing guest tonight. This topic right here, if you don't see yourself in this topic, I don't know if you're a human being. I think all of us have been some kind of imposter or tried to be one in our lives. So this is going to be interesting. And my guest, once I introduce him, you're going to see why he's on the show. So this is going to be a good night. So the way that I do this show, because it's an audio show, is I will pause for 3 seconds. I will start the actual podcast. And then at the end, I'll pause for another 3 seconds. So I'll have 2 places to chop it off, and everything in the middle, you get to hear on your headphones and in your car. So give me my 3 seconds, and then we'll get started. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I'm your host. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, a strategist, an engineer, and a mental health advocate. And tonight, we have an extra special guest. It's been a long time coming. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but we're talking about, are you living your life as an imposter? And we're going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about the different ways that shows up in your life. And like I said, I guarantee you're going to see yourself. So I'm going to put him on screen. I am going to introduce him lightly myself, and then I'm going to let him tell you who he is and what he does. So stand by. Let me make sure that he's off mute. And so this gentleman here, Theo Brown, I met Theo through our friend of the show, Bernadette Jackson. And we've done many clubhouse rooms together. And this brother, when you're talking about, y'all know every time I bring somebody on here, I always tell you, I always look for the smartest people in the room, and I bring them here because I need for y'all to get the most value. Yes, sir, you're gonna get your flowers today. So I the way that Theo explains things, and you'll see it tonight, because he don't even have to perform. It's just naturally how he is, and you'll see it tonight when he answers these questions I got for him. But yeah, we've done some shows together, and the reason why he hadn't been here is because a lot of those shows were on Wednesday, so it kind of clashed. So now that it's not every Wednesday, I get the opportunity to have this gentleman on the show. So Theo, if you can introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get started.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Theo. I go by Theo, or you can go Theo Brown T, but I prefer Theo, just a lot more friendlier. If you're on Clubhouse, you can call me Theophilus. That's typically what my name is on Clubhouse. But I am a coach, and let me say I'm a coach sometimes. And I say sometimes because I'm not everybody's coach. I'm not for everybody. And so I do coach some people. I am a barber. I am a husband. I am a conglomerate of things. But all in all, I'm a learner of life. I'm a student of life. I enjoy life. I, yeah, you know what, Derek? I think that's it. I think that's enough about me, man. I think that's it.
We gonna get to the rest of it later, sir.
I think that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
probably one of the
Yeah.
most humble people I've ever met. This dude is really helping people out here, man. We gonna talk about that later. But he really does everything that I see him doing from his heart. And those are the type of people that I really like to let you people see, because all of this fake, phony stuff that's going out here, I bring you people here that are not only smart, that not only know what they're talking about, but they really love what they do. So we'll talk about that later. We're not gonna skip over Pathfinders and all the other stuff, man. We gonna go there. Okay?
I mean, I'm gonna mention it, but I just didn't want to put it out there like that right in the front.
We're gonna talk
All
about it
that.
later. You get a pass,
Okay,
sir.
okay, fair enough. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
So what we're gonna do is, so the show is called "Are You Living Your Life as an Imposter?" And so and I got this because I literally did a deep dive on Theo's profile, and I saw one video where he was talking about, I think he called it imposterism. And so what I want you to do, based off, we're gonna go a couple of different places tonight. But I want you to start off by talking about it in the way that you did in that video, and like what it means to you, and how you have shown up, in that way. Because I think you said the video is personal to you, but it's your opinion. I want you to give us a little bit of that, and then we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of everything after that.
So for me, when in that video specifically, I'm talking about a time that even now currently that I'm still working through. Times that I still feel as if I'm not good enough. Times I feel like I'm not smart enough. Times that I feel that I don't deserve what I have. And even when I show up in certain spaces, there's times that I feel ill-equipped. And so even just in life, just in my daily life, I will go to the gym and say, well, do I know how to do this exercise? Like simple little things that you shouldn't question yourself on, but you question yourself because you know that you're doing it intentionally, and there's a purpose to doing it. So for me, it's one of those things that I constantly check myself just to make sure that my awareness level is where where it needs to be. And so I never want to show up counterfeit. I never want to show up in a way that doesn't align with my spirit. And so typically, when most people ask me to do something, I say no, because as a recovering and healed people pleaser, no is my biggest fence, and so it's always easier to turn a no into a yes than it is to turn a yes into a no. And so for me, I learned that I can say no and go back, and most people will accept that. Now, when for things like this, when I'm asked, depends on who's asking. It's an automatic yes, obviously that's a no-brainer. But for other things, it's more like, let me make sure that I'm in alignment with you. Let me make sure that I know that I can deliver to the best of my abilities, and I don't want to show up on your space as half-stepping or counterfeit. And so yeah, so for me, imposterism, as the word that I made up, it's near and dear to my heart because I've struggled with that for a long time. So yeah, man, like that's pretty much where that video came from.
Yeah, I think, if I was being honest, in some way, shape, or form, I think most of my life, from a kid all the way up into a grown man, in some way, shape, or form. And when I was looking at some of this stuff, they were saying like 70% of people, have been an imposter. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? But I think a lot of times we struggle with being accepted by by society, by the people that we're around. We're gonna talk about that. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this in reverse of how I was gonna do it in the beginning, because I'm gonna give these little. They gave like 5 different types of imposter syndrome or whatever. So I'm gonna go through these things, and then you can kind of chime in if you want to about these different things, or have you ever been this type of person? People that are listening, if any of these things ring true, just type in the word that I'm going to use, so that you can identify with it if this sounds like you. So this is how we're going to do the show, right? Because the computer's working in real time. We're going to do these 5 things, and then we're going to go into the things that we don't really think about that fits under the umbrella of being an imposter or showing up as someone else just to suit the environment. So the first one they have is the perfectionist. Perfectionism and imposter syndrome often go hand in hand. Perfectionists set excessively high goals for themselves, and when they fail to reach a goal, they experience major self-doubt and worry about measuring up. So they said whether they realize it or not, this group can also be control freaks, feeling like if they want something done right, they have to do it themselves.
Touche. Maybe. Maybe.
Yo, this, like, I still suffer with this. I overthink the hell out of everything because I feel like it's got to be perfect. And there's another side of my brain that says I know that it doesn't have to be. So it's like a war. And especially with social media. When I post on social media, my overthinking brain goes in overdrive. And I'm like, should I post this? Are they going to like this? Are they going to share it? And then it'll be hours later. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there. So that's huge for me, man. I'm definitely,
bro,
you got any comments?
For me, it's like the opposite, because like social media I don't post on social media for much. Like I probably should be, as a business owner. Now I post more so on my barbering page because that's more, there's physical evidence of what I do, right? But as a coach, it's kind of like I'm not a coach 24/7, despite to what my wife might believe, right?
Right.
I'm not a coach 24/7, and so, bro, I like corny dad jokes. I like, I just like a conglomerate of things. Like my algorithm can't keep up with me because I like a lot of things that's not consistent with what you would think.
Right.
Let's face it, a black man at 36 would like.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. And so my algorithm is completely jacked up. So like in my search bar, like you see like military stuff, like you see barbering stuff, and you'll see like a couple little coach quotes here and there, and then like in a corner, like you see Allen Iverson. Like it's just a conglomerate of things that my algorithm is completely like, I don't like this dude because he can't keep it consistent. Because for me, getting on social media is a way to connect. And so when I post something, I only post whatever I feel genuinely that I like. I don't even care if it gets views, likes, or anything. I just post it because for me, it's just like, I find this funny. Let me share it with other people who are weirdos just like me that would find this funny. And so it just more the perfectionist part of that. But I think when I do try to market and when I do try hard, it does become difficult because now I'm in my head about, is this going to get the views that it's supposed to get? Is this going to get the attention? Is this going to get the eyes? But when I post for myself, I'm like, man, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so, it does hit a little different.
Yeah, it took me a long time, man. Like, not recently, but just trying to metamorphosize yourself into something like what you see other people are doing because you think you're going to get what they got, the success that they got, and it just doesn't work that way. No. It took me a long time to own who I am. Now I don't give a damn because when you see me on that Instagram live, I'm just like whatever.
Right. So I'm like, Derek is going in. I was like, hold on, get your waters. Oh my gosh.
That's like 40. That's like 40-something years worth of pent up me wanting to come out, showing itself. Finally, I'm like, I could be myself now, and I don't care about what they think. So, yeah, that
was good. That was good to see.
Number 2 is the superwoman or superman. It says, since people who experience this phenomenon are convinced they're phonings amongst real deal colleagues, they often push themselves to work harder and harder to measure up. But this is just a false cover up for their insecurities, and the work overload may harm not only their own mental health, but also their relationships with others.
No, that's real.
Yeah, this one right here.
Really?
I don't know if I worked like in this particular, because we could talk about Superwoman and Superman, but the
Right.
description they gave with the colleagues at work, nah, I haven't worked extra to measure up to them. Like,
Okay, that's fair.
that's not, yeah, that's not. I don't think I've ever done that. Because in that forum, it took me a little while, but I was like, yo, I got here just like you did, so I'm just gonna do, because those the palm colors, they will see. This is the new me, right? When I first got there, it was like, how did you get this job? And I'm like, the same way you did. I applied, and I have my references and my resume. Like, what do you? They couldn't. They was like, oh my god, like, and I was like, stop.
They let y'all go to school? I mean,
Yeah. So what I'm not gonna do is kiss nobody's butt to get anywhere or to feel like I need to measure up to them. That's just how I'm built. But I will say, because they mentioning like workaholics and stuff like that. Even if I was a workaholic, it wouldn't be to like please somebody else. It'll probably be me overthinking something that probably doesn't need to be overworked, but I don't think I would do it for the imposter part of it. Any thoughts on your end?
So for me, it rings a little different because I think I've had that, and if I don't check it, I might still, it might still come up. The people pleasing aspect of imposter, like having to overdo things so that people appreciate you and like you, because you're afraid that if you don't perform, they take their love away from you. Now, in a work capacity, when I was in the military, yes, there was a lot of measuring myself according to what the regulation is or according to what my peers are doing. Mm-hmm. And I had to get out of that quickly because I realized I wasn't my peers. I wasn't them. And for me, it was one of those things that I had to kind of create my own lane, and I had to kind of lead differently because I understood who I wasn't, and I wasn't going to try to be that thing. And so when I showed up, I showed up as me. What you got, Sergeant Brown T. That's what you got. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so, but coming into the civilian world, there was still a lot of like tiptoeing, like, okay, am I showing up? Like, who's showing up? Because when I left the military, like, I felt like my identity wasn't a thing. Like, I didn't know who I was. And so I would still show up in certain circles, or even when I started cutting hair, I will compare myself to those who've been cutting hair for 20 years. Like, man, I need to be as good as they are, because if not, I'm going to lose clients. But about 2 years in, it started to hit that I don't need to be as good as they do, or I don't need to cut as good as they do, because my personality alone was attracting the people that I needed, and was attracting my tribe. And so, and I had to realize that I'm not those people, and I don't measure up to what their standard of success looks like. And I refuse to do that, because now I'm not pigeonholing myself to their ideal. And so I had to stop and get out of that whole mode of, well, yeah, your face could be better, or, well, yeah, you could have, these clients, or, yeah, you could, be booked all the time. And I was like, I could be, but I don't want to go that route where I'm essentially selling my soul for the sake of making money. I was like, I'm not doing that. So yes and no. I could see where you would say in a work capacity, absolutely not. But in the way that my life was set up at that time, and even now still is, it's a little different, because I do gotta look around and be aware of, okay, not who I'm competing with, but what is new that I need to be aware of, and where do I fit into this new, direction that this industry is going. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that one. I think I would probably fall more in line with that if they didn't piss me off so much in the beginning. Cause then I probably would have been like, maybe I need to do this, but after that happened like 3-4 times, I was like, yeah, this I'm not. No, I don't need to see. I don't need y'all to see me the way that y'all want to see me. I'm just gonna do what I want to do here, what I'm supposed to do here, and get what I came to get.
That's different.
Yeah, because a lot of us sometimes end up being the only person, on the floor or in the
Right.
team that's not, you know,
That's
and
yeah. That's
and
not
so
other, right?
the expectation is that you're going to be something different, and I'm like, no, I'm getting the job done just like you, so stop, please stop. So the next one is, and
But
I'm going to,
Derek,
huh?
Derek, I think that, like, for me, even when it comes to that, the biggest thing, not being from America, period. Like, I wasn't born and raised in America, so I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't born and raised with a black experience, right? The American black experience. I
Mm-hmm.
was born and raised in Rwanda, Africa, where in 1994 there was a genocide that happened, and that's why I ended up in the States as an immigrant. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fit in anyway.
Right.
Like, my mindset was never to fit in, because I understood I didn't fit into the black culture of America. I didn't fit into the white culture of America. I fit into the immigrant, that whole immigrant um culture, right? That's my lane. That's where I fit in.
Yeah.
But then going to school and trying to feel like, okay, I didn't know I was, and this is gonna sound stupid to somebody, but I didn't know I wasn't black until I was told I was black. Like,
Yes.
because to me, black wasn't a thing. To me, I knew I was African. Where I come from, everybody's black, so we're all Africans. So coming to America and then getting to a place where I'm told that I'm not black enough. I'm like, what you mean I'm not black enough? I'm African, bro. Like, this is as dark as you can get, and this is as black of an experience that you can have. I'm from the motherland. Like, what you mean I'm not black enough?
Right.
But it was, you're not black American enough to be considered one of us, so we're going to treat you different. You don't sound like us, you don't dress like us, so we're going to treat you different.
Yeah.
So naturally, then at that point, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm an immigrant, so like, you can't down talk me, like, bro, like, you know where I come from, like, you can't make me feel bad by telling me things like that. But I also realized that, oh, okay, I now know my place, because I'm not black enough and I'm not white enough. And so at that age, I think it was, me and my brother were like 15. I think I was like 14, he was 15. We're in an area in Illinois, and that there's no black people around. And we were walking somewhere, and a cop pulls up and says, "Hey, what are y'all doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
I To us, it wasn't anything, because we're used to seeing nothing but white people. So like, I was like, "Oh, hey, officer, what's going on?" Like, we're just talking, and he's like, "Why don't you get in my car and I'll take you to where you guys want to go?" Okay, cool. Gave us a ride, not a problem. We got to our friend's house, which our friends are white, and so we explained to them what happened. They're looking at us like, "And you guys are okay?" We're like, "Yeah."
That's
Right? Because, mind you, like, growing up where we grew up in Kentucky, we didn't really know Black history like that. So we
yeah.
didn't know there was, I mean, we knew there's tension, because obviously the obvious differences. We understood there's slavery, but we didn't know how bad it was in
Yeah.
certain areas of America. I didn't know that in certain areas of America in 1998, people hadn't seen Black people yet. I'm like, what? Ain't
Yeah.
we everywhere? But, and then it hit that I was like, oh, but not until later though. Not until probably about, I don't know, 2009. I was like, oh, that could have really been bad. Like 10 years later, it hit like, oh, so that's what it was mad, because, that shouldn't have happened. Or somebody called and said, hey, there's two Black boys walking in the neighborhood. What's going on? And so they got mad that somebody called the cops that would come and get us. And so, like, the whole imposter thing, like, to me, and ended up becoming an adult thing, not a childhood thing, but more so
Mm-hmm.
like an adult thing. Like, okay, So even walking into some black spaces, I know I'm not welcome because I don't sound black enough. I don't dress black enough. Whatever that enough is, I'm not that. And so now I'm like, oh, okay. So what's my resume look like? What do I got to do to get y'all to understand that yes, I might not be one of y'all, but I'm one of you. Right. And so having that experience for me was always like the top of my, like just the back of my head, like, should you go into these spaces? Are you welcome to these spaces? Do you care if you're welcome to these spaces? And then I just said, you know what, forget it, man. I'm just gonna be me, and who don't like it, they just don't like it. So I started showing up in spaces. That's why, like Clubhouse, I will be in spaces that I probably have no business being in, but why not? It's there, I'm there. So,
Right.
so it's like I've had to get over to that point. So, but yeah, to your point, it's like when you think that you're not enough, you are gonna compromise on a lot of things.
Yeah. So one quick follow up question for that one: was there any point in that trajectory that you talked about that you felt like you had to like dress different, talk different to fit into spaces?
Yeah, yeah. This was probably like between 12 and 16,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm still trying to find my friend circles. I'm like at school, I'm hanging out with the foreign exchange students because that's who I resonate with. Um, and then I realized that I wasn't like black girls didn't even like me. I was like, man, I was like, dang, like that's terrible. And so I started to see like, okay, maybe if I do this different, maybe if I do, and then it got tiring, bro. It got tiring. Like I've never bought a pair of Jordans. I still haven't.
Right.
Right. That's one thing I was like, I'm not spending money on shoes. That's stupid. Like, like just no, I'm not doing that. Never really. Like I did have a FUBU jersey. I had a FUBU jersey that I got from Good. Listen, I'm trying to fit in, trying to simulate, right? I had I had a FUBU jersey that where did I get it from? I think it was like at a thrift store, and like it was cheap because at that time like FUBU was expensive,
Yeah.
so I had to go get it, from elsewhere. And I had like I went to see somebody in Michigan, and like we got it there because it was cheap, and so that's like the only thing that I could say that okay, I tried it and I was like, it's taxing. It's taxing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not doing it. Like I tried to buy a pair of Timberlands, and I realized it was mad expensive. And I'm like, let me just go to Payless and get me
Oh
some of
hell.
them steel toe. Let me give me some of them steel toes.
Already know where this is going.
And so,
And you
like,
better not ever go to New York like that.
good thing I lived in Ohio, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like that, right? Yeah, right. And so I got me some steel toes, and I was rocking it. I was good, but like it just the more that I tried to play the part,
Yeah.
the more I realized I hated who I was becoming.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yes.
I was like there was a disdain in my heart for every time I got dressed in something that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "What are you doing,
Yeah.
Theo? What are you doing?" And like, it just wasn't. I mean, Derek, I started shaving my head when I was a junior in high school. Like, I didn't care. At that
Mm-hmm.
point, I got sick and tired of it. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care. But yeah, so like that's probably like when I started. Like, you know what? Be you, regardless of who likes you or who doesn't. Just be you. Like, it doesn't
Gotcha.
matter. Like, the girls don't like you anyway, so shave your head. Like it's like nah, you ain't getting no play, so shave your head.
Right.
You good,
Exactly. I
right?
know. I
And
know
so
that feeling all too well. So I'm gonna try to run through these next three, and then chime in as needed. But this next one they call the natural genius, where people want to show up like they figured something out without actually having to work hard for it.
mm,
So, so it says these. Let's see. People with this competence type believe they need to be a natural genius. As such, they judge their competence based ease and speed as opposed to their efforts. In other words, if they take a long time to master something, they feel shame.
Yes, that was also me in high school. Derek, I didn't play sports in high school. I'm black and I didn't play sports in high school. I'm African and I couldn't run track to save my life in high school. You know what I'm saying? I was putting all the Africans to shame. I was getting looked at like, look at this guy pretending to be African. Like, you can't run track? You're not that fast? No. You don't jump that high? No, that's not my tribe. That's like my tribe wasn't there when they were giving out speed. Like, God was like, hey, not you guys. You guys are late, right? So like, it wasn't my people. Like, that wasn't us. And so, like, playing basketball, I didn't play basketball. I played volleyball because it was easy, and it was the only sport that I could get into without trying too hard. But like in other things, like trying to show up as a genius, man, I tried that route and it didn't work. It didn't work. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's this one right here. I'm still like, because I was always a natural genius, so did not joke. A lot of things did come like the more cerebral stuff came easy to me young. So I can't say that I pretended to. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody and things like that, but a lot of things came easy to me intellectually. So I didn't necessarily feel the need to pretend like I figured out something without any effort. Even though a lot of things came to me without a lot of effort, just naturally because of how this crazy brain of mine works. But I can't say that I ever felt like that per se. I'm gonna keep running through these because these ain't even the ones that's gonna count tonight for real. Wait until I get to part 2. The next one is called the Soloist. Number 4 is the Soloist. They feel as though asking for help reveals their phoniness. It says it's okay to be independent, but not to the extent that you refuse assistance so that you can prove your worth. This one right here is huge. This is like the whole internet. Everybody wants to be self-made. They want to be the one with no help. I get it all. I got it all by myself. I'm like, no, you didn't. Stop it.
Self-made. Self-made.
Yeah. This one right here, I don't even want to spend a lot of time on this. This one right here makes me sick. Because there's nobody that's achieved any huge measure of success that did it by themselves without outsourcing or because you so when you see these people and I'm like, okay, so you was your own accountant, your own marketing, you was the talent. Stop it.
Like, so you mean to tell me like you've gotten all these followers that you didn't buy yourself because you're a genius at this specific task? Like, you were naturally born to be on social media. This is what it is. This is what it is. Okay, yeah, you're lying. Yeah, you're lying.
Yeah. So real quick, I want to read this one comment. Dope Discussions Live. Erica, she says, I went the other route. I pretended that I wasn't as smart so I could fit in and not be called a nerd.
Well,
that nerd thing is real because I went through that too, but I don't know if I ever pretended to be not as smart. But nerds were not the thing in the 80s and the 90s. Nobody was messing with those nerds. Nobody was. I think I might have been over 35 before I really, or even 40 before I really was like, yes, I'm that. Because a lot of my life I was like, I know that I'm intelligent, but I don't need to kind of like people didn't like smart. Even just wearing glasses, like, oh, you a nerd. I'm like, that's your bar? I used to like people. Because I was wearing glasses since like the 7th grade. So they was like, oh, you're a nerd. I'm like, I haven't even opened my mouth yet. So yeah, smart was not sexy.
Okay, so the nerd thing, like, I wish I was a nerd. Like I wasn't even a jock. It's like I was still trying to figure out what in the world am I doing with my life. Like in high school, like even in college, I went to college for like 2 years because my parents said it was a prerequisite for life, and so I had to go. And I went to a community college, and I didn't take your typical classes because my mom said because I joined the military like 2 years after I got out of high school because I was waiting on my green card and things like that. And so I had 2 years. So my mom says you got to go to college. I said okay, man. So I went to a community college. I took all electives, because if I'm gonna be in college, I want the fun, right? I don't want to do the homework. Like high school was over, I don't want to do the homework. So I was taking guitar lessons, I was taking trumpet lessons, I was taking dance, basketball, weightlifting. I was taking salsa, I was taking Pilates, every elective possible I took. But guess who was on the dean's list though? Your boy was on the dean's list. Guess what? That looks great. That looks great on your college transcript, right? I had a couple core classes that I dropped before I could fail them, and because I never went, and so it worked. But I was never the nerd. Like I never, I didn't know a whole lot to know a whole lot. So I just kept my mouth. So like, I just kept my mouth shut. Like that was just my thing. Is like I don't know much about anything. So let me just be the class clown. Like that was my thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this one comment. Then we're gonna go to number 5. Love Tucker says a lot of girls play down their intelligence. The interesting thing is, as an adult, many women still do this to soothe egos. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely, definitely, definitely. It's unfortunate that the male
Very.
ego is so fragile. It's unfortunate because we miss out on a lot, man. And it sucks that a lot of women can't just show up as themselves, smart or not, and really just feel like they can exist in a space and not have to worry about somebody feeling like, oh, she's smarter than me, so she need to stand down because I need to feel like I'm in control type of thing. It's so stupid.
It's sad. It's sad. Real sad.
The saddest part is that women are actually doing it.
Still doing it.
Yeah, still doing it. Because it's like, anyway, that we may step on something.
I know that's like a whole different conversation.
It's a
but
whole,
yeah,
I could do a
can't wait to
whole
have
show on that.
I can't wait to have that. I cannot wait to have that conversation, Derek. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, I might have to do an IG live on that.
Please do.
Number 5 is the expert. It's basically somebody that feel like they need to show up like they know everything all the time. These people, one of my pet peeves. Cause they be loud and wrong a lot of times, and I'm like, stop! You don't have to be right all the time.
Oh yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah. So
Yes,
Clubhouse.
exactly. Yeah. The whole Clubhouse.
Okay, touche. It's like how to grow your how to grow your coaching business, or how to like gain. Everybody's a millionaire on Clubhouse, and
Yeah.
except for me, I don't have $100. But like everybody else on Clubhouse seems to really like know how to make money really well, and that's how they're on Clubhouse all the time. And so I'm just like, let me get into these rooms that people are making all this money. Like, wow, like everybody really is an expert in this making money thing. Like, okay, cool, touche.
And the funny thing about those people, they never really tell you exactly how they did it.
Correct.
They never tell you exactly how they did it. They bait you in to pay for some course or pay for something, and they never really tell you how they got it. And that bothers me.
And that's how they got it. They roped you in to pay for a course to kind of give you half information ish, maybe the things that you could have Googled, and
exactly.
now you're making them the money because you paid them, and now they're
it's
they're
crazy.
wealthy. It's wild.
So I'm gonna move on to my real list. That was the internet Google search one. These next ones are the ones that I came up with. So first one is, we can also be an imposter to the idea of a perfect relationship. So what I mean by that is, relationship goals, I have to pretend to be a certain way so that my relationship looks like something to the outside world. So I have to pretend to be something I'm not so that people think that my relationship is great. Any thoughts?
Okay, so, oh man, yes, I got plenty of thoughts. I got plenty of thoughts, and I think I would love to blame it on social media, right? I would really love to blame it on social media and say that social media has set the bar. Let's just say, for the sake of conversation in our community, um, hashtag Black Love has ruined relationships. Hashtag um, Black couples goals
Yep.
have ruined relationships. But that was going on before social media, and it was going on to the point where people didn't talk about it. So when and I give this within the context of the religious spectrum or the church spectrum, when people would show up to church and say, "Yeah, Mr. So and they look so happy. They've been together for 20 years, man. Look, man, ain't God good? Look, man, I want to have a relationship like that when I grow up. Man, they've been together for 30. Man, they just celebrated their 50th anniversary." And you're sitting there thinking, man, and here I am, year 10, and I'm hating life. I'm struggling, like we're arguing every day, and it I don't think we're gonna make it to 50. So we might as well just go ahead and just call it a day and just get divorced, right? But you don't know what that marriage looks like for you to say that. And sometimes a lot of those people who've been married for 20 some odd years are now getting divorced because they realize this ain't like the show is up. Like
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of pretending, right? And so now you also see it now where in social media you see that the likes matter. If you only knew how many times that person had to take that picture of that perfect smiling couple so that they can post that picture and say, hey, this is what you should achieve for. It's like how many, how many tries did you try to get that pose in? Like, oh,
Right.
here I am, me and my hubby, oh, me and wifey, aha, aha, aha. But down deep, you're struggling, man. Like down deep, you're struggling, but you got to keep up the facade. You got to keep up the face because if you don't, people are going to look at you like you're a fraud, and you don't want to be a fraud, but you're already a fraud because you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. This one right here, I think the part that sucks is that when you feel like you have to conform to a certain type of relationship or become a type of person
Hmm.
for everybody else, the whole and it kind of piggybacks on what you're saying. The whole timeline of you doing that internally, your relationship suffers because you haven't worked on that. It wasn't even about you working to grow the relationship. It was about you working to make sure that everybody else gave you a pat on the back for having a great marriage or
That part.
whatever it is. And that's the part that a lot of people, especially these people that worship these celebrity marriages and all this stuff, and I'd be like, stop. You don't want that life. But
Bruh, it's
it's
sad, man. It's sad. Like I can't even for you to look at somebody's relationship and say, "Wow, that's my goals." Like that's that's really that's a low bar. That's a low bar because you're discounting yourself. You're discounting your own ability to have a great relationship. You're discounting your ability to even exist in the world that you're trying to compare yourself to. And it's the weirdest thing, but I think it makes people maybe feel like I want to say it makes people feel good about themselves.
yeah,
But
there's
that
something
short
missing
term,
that's trying to be
right?
filled
But that
in.
short term feeling though, it lasts for a while. Like it lasts for a long time if it's not solved. And man, I just pray for him.
Yeah.
Like I mean that's I'm like, come on, man,
Like
really?
I've seen people try to, as a couple, try to befriend another couple that may have a higher socioeconomic status than them, and
I
then they
have
will
seen that.
buy certain types of clothes and go on trips with
Hmm.
them, and knowing good and
Hmm.
well they can't afford it, but they want to get the look. And I'm like, yeah, y'all, I know what you do. I know you can't afford that Gucci outfit and the trip to the Maldives and all. It's like, come on,
Right.
man. That but they do it for that shot with that other
Hmm.
couple, so they could be like, oh my
Right.
gosh, they hanging out together. It bothers me, but I don't try to think about it too much because I'm like, because at the end of the day they end up calling me like I don't know what to do. My it never fails.
But you guys were just on. But you guys look so happy. Oh my gosh! But you guys look amazing. What happened? Oh, this happened. You're like yeah. I can't even. It bothers me to the nth degree because I feel like there's this unrealistic expectation, and maybe this is also my frustration with Clubhouse sometimes. The relationship, which I love the conversations that we have on Clubhouse because they're
Mhm.
relationship based, but they're reality based,
Right.
and maybe that's why not a whole lot of people show up because because it's like if you can't handle us telling you like the real, like yeah, go get fed somewhere else. But there's this expectation. There's this expectation that is within our culture, our social media culture, or our Black culture, if you will. And the expectation is that by this age, we're supposed to have this. Our significant other is supposed to be doing this, and that we're following this footprint or this blueprint that was etched out by some crazy individual who never followed their own blueprint, but they gave it to us and said, "Hey, this is what success looks like. This is what a successful relationship looks like." It's like just because you've been in a relationship for 20 years does not mean it's been a healthy relationship.
Yep.
Heck, you could be in a relationship for, however, it doesn't mean it's healthy. And now you're over here on life support struggling because one, you're that imposter syndrome. You are the imposter. You are perpetrating that you are living this one life, but you are completely living a whole different life when the lights go off.
Yep.
And there's a like that one song, if you are what you say you are, a
Yep.
superstar, then have no fear because the camera is here, right? And there's like, here you go. Here's the stage of life. Oh, you're shy now.
Hmm.
Oh, you really? But I thought you said you were okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Erica from Dope Discussions Live says they don't show up because it's not negative clickbait.
That too.
We all
That
know how
too.
that works.
That too. That too. Oh man. Huh. If it's
Yeah.
not a fight, if it's not pinning men versus women, nobody wants to hear it.
Yep. 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 So the next place I want to go, which kind of falls under the same umbrella, because I always like to peel back the layers of the onion. You can be an imposter, not as what your relationship looks like, but you can be an imposter directly to your significant other and what you think they
Mm.
need from you. You follow me? So now,
Mm.
if I go into a relationship and I think my significant other wants a certain type of person, I'm going to try to
Hmm.
change myself into this type of person so they don't leave me. I might have some abandonment issues, whatever it is. I don't want them to leave, so I'm going to change everything about me to make sure that they get what they want so they don't leave. Any thoughts on that?
That's dangerous, bro.
It
That
is, right? And here's the thing
that
though. I
oh
think
man.
that even if just a little bit, I think a lot of us have done this in our lifetime where we changed up a little bit about who we are to show up, even just to meet the person and go on the first
Mhm.
date. The representative,
Right.
we get into the relationship and the person might get upset because we didn't do something the way they wanted it to, and just to make them shut up, I turn into this other person, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna let you have the floor, sir.
Whew. The representative.
Yeah.
That it's like I don't know if you've ever seen that Key and Peele that Key and Peele skit about Barack Obama and his translator. Like,
Did I see?
but
No, I don't think I saw that one.
hilarious, right? But the representative that doesn't say what needs to be said because they feel it, they say what needs to be said because they know or think it's going to make that person feel better about themselves in long term, killing any chances of a successful relationship or successful connection whatsoever. And I'm guilty of this as as a guy. I'm guilty to show up different from my wife because I felt that okay, this is somebody okay, this occasion calls for Super Theo. No, it doesn't. It just calls for Theo. But I show up as this person that I think she needs the savior. Like she doesn't need saving. She just needs you to sit your butt down and listen. Um, and even when some men show up on dates with their potential partner, they're not honest about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only hold this facade for about what 90 days roughly, maybe 2 or 3 dates, and then the real you starts to come out, and you start to realize like, man, like I don't like that person, or that person isn't me. But no, it's really you, but you're trying to like convince them that the real you isn't real, like the real you. So when the real you shows up, it's like, oh, I just had some human moments. I just was, whatever. But it's like, no, that own up to who you are. If you that dude that treats women bad, own up to that. Like, don't go in and damage somebody else because you feel that you need this notch on your belt for just whatever prideful reason. Like, that's terrible. But I realized for myself that if I if I can't show up for myself a certain way, if I'm not authentic in the way that I'm showing up for myself, I'm not able to show up for my wife or anybody else authentically.
Yeah.
And so I had to check myself when I was starting to come off as something like, that's not you. Stop it. And I would have to like regroup and say, okay, hey, this is who I'm like. This is me. This is me showing up. Whether you like this person or not, this is just me. And the other person has to deal with that. But it's like I can't go against me anymore. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. This one right here, I think I did this for a long time in different relationships. Because I was, people pleaser, right? Mm-hmm. People please to the point where you lose yourself. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with making sure that you liked me. Even if
Wow.
it meant I had to pretend to be something else to make you get what you thought you needed to get from me. And that, to people that are listening, whether a lot of us like to admit it or not, a lot of us have done this. A lot of times it's because you don't, like I said before, you don't want the person to leave. So you and I saw Kalisha say something in the comments about a thin line between changing yourself and compromising. Exactly. We're not talking about compromise. I'm talking about total behavioral changes, total just how you move and your character. Just it molds to the other person without you having an identity for yourself. And the problem with that is if you link up with a person who's not used to being treated the way that they want to be treated, and then you pretend to be that person, they are going to soak that thing up like a sponge, and they're not even going to really worry about you being who you need to be. They're going to just eat it up like, thank you. And so you think that it's working, but you're not you.
It's working so much against you that you are resenting yourself and your
Yeah.
significant other to the core, and you don't even know it yet. You don't know it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens.
So the next, I only have 2 more, so I don't know if it's your bedtime or anything, but we got a few more minutes.
I'm grown, Derek. I'm grown.
So the next place that I want to go is being an imposter at work, within your family and your friends. Changing who you are depending on the environment. I know a lot of people.
I got some pushback on that. But go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
okay, so sometimes, we have to, show up a certain way in a different environment, but sometimes people do like a whole costume change. I'm going to this family's house, so I got to show up like this. I'm going to hang out with this set of friends, so I'm going to wear different clothes to make sure that I'm accepted in that group. That's what I'm kind of getting at, is that you never get to a point where you're in an environment where you can actually just, well, I was gonna say let your hair down, but um,
Let your beard unfurl, right?
so now let's go ahead and give me my pushback.
All right. So my pushback is when, you know, especially at work, it's kind of like the environmental differences and the rules of work and the rules of out of work. Like, you know, you are going to be different. You are going to act different. You might even say it's a different you, like when you're at work. I don't know if you've seen this show on Apple TV. It's called Severance, but it's
Mm-mm.
like a great show, dramatic, but it's like part of your brain. Like there's this thing in your. I'm not gonna tell you what, but you can watch it. But great show. Like the example is that of just being somebody different at work and off work, and having to accept the responsibilities of those dual identities.
Mm-hmm.
But those dual identities are comprised also, you know, of that one core identity, which is you. Like your personality doesn't need to change, but I have seen where personalities change completely. It's almost kind of like you're a whole different person, and it's hella uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, but I would definitely say that knowing your audience and adjusting to your audience is is that changing like that, or is that more so? And maybe like you can break that down a little further. Like if I know, hey, I'm speaking to a demographic, like I'm going to use certain language that I wouldn't use in other places, or I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to where if I'm talking at church, I'm going to wear something different than what I would typically wear at a speaking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
engagement, right? I'm 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 probably going to be more so biblically driven than logically driven, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be, you know, just a little bit different. But I'm adjusting to my clients, or I'm adjusting to my audience. Is that the same thing as completely changing over when you're adjusting to your demographic that you're speaking to?
Right. So here's the nuance, and where I kind of wanted to go with this is, yes, you go to church, you wear a suit and tie. You may speak differently. You go to work, you code switch. Yes, sir. How are you, Billy? Right. We unfortunately have to do that. But when the core of who you are changes, and when you're in that room, it's uncomfortable, but you want to be in that room so bad that you keep that kind of persona on. Cause like,
Right,
let's say you're speaking to a church crowd, right?
right.
You're going to speak in different kind of terms. You don't want to offend anybody, whatever. But the core of who you are, the morals, the tenets that you hold true for your own character, when you discard those at the expense of pleasing that group, I think to me that's a problem,
Okay,
right?
okay, okay.
Because there's certain things that you may get offended by, but you may suck that up because you're in that room and you don't want to offend anybody, right? To me,
Right.
that's kind of sort of compromising who you are. And I know certain environments you don't want to speak too loud because then they might kick you out or whatever. But maybe it's just me. But I'm gonna be 49 this year. You're not gonna make me
Mm,
feel uncomfortable, and I'm gonna just still stay there and be like, "Yes,
mm,
sir. How are you guys?" Yeah. No, I'm not.
mm.
Maybe that's a Derek thing, but I can't.
No,
I
no.
cannot.
I think okay. I think at a certain age, you do change the way that you respond to people because you've learned that you're no longer willing to spend the rest of your life uncomfortable for the sake of the comfortability of others. Like that. I want to say in some spaces, um, even now, right? And I'll use myself as an example. Even now, in certain black spaces, I'm not just gonna let something slide just because we're all the same. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like, no, that's not right. Like don't say that. Don't do that. That's stupid. And whereas in the past I might have been like, oh well, you know, just people be people. But I'm now in a place where I'm like, no, no, I refuse to buy into this whole thing. Even now in certain church groups or in certain um, quote unquote church conversations, I'm like, no, stop it, stop it.
Right.
Put the Bible down for a minute. Stop.
Yeah.
You sound stupid.
Yeah.
Like Reverend Bishop. a deacon so and so, apostle. You sound dumb.
And so
Stop it.
yeah, so to that point, right? When you get to the point where you feel like that, there's a lot of
Mhm.
us that would just smile and go along with it and just keep doing that every week. And on the inside, you feel like,
That frustration is building.
but you got to
It's
smile
building.
because you don't want
Hmm.
nobody to not accept you or whatever. That's hard for me. I it's hard for me. Like at this point, I don't go in any rooms where I don't feel comfortable. I don't go in any rooms where I don't feel like I can be me. And so when
Mm.
I say me, there's nothing off-putting about my persona. So I can go in
Right.
most rooms and kind of, work within those rooms. But there's certain people who it's like a total 180.
Hmm.
And that,
I've seen that.
yeah, so that to me has to feel like super uncomfortable for that type of person where they literally have changed their whole persona just so that that room can like them.
But okay, so I got a question then, Derek.
Hmm.
Do imposters actually have imposter syndrome then?
So yes and no,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because there's
Okay.
somebody
Please break
that
it down.
because here because so we'll split hairs here, right? So on the one hand, you can have somebody that's pretending to be something for whatever their goals are, right? And then you have or whatever they're trying to attain. They're in a certain room and they're pretending to be something in the room. And then there's other people that will look at a situation or a person and say, "I want to be like that, so I'm going to change to be more accepted or have that whatever that thing is affect me in a way where I feel like I have to change." So,
Hmm.
but I think if you really get down to its finest, its point, even in every scenario that we talked about, there is a bar by which they are trying
Okay.
to appease. It may not be a person, it may be a theory, it may be relationship goals. They're still being an imposter to that thing, whatever that thing is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, so that segues into the last one I have, which is you can be an imposter to yourself. Hmm.
Boy.
That's why when I saw that list online, I was like, I get it, but it doesn't get down to the meat of how we really moving out here.
Ah, man. Let me tell Derek. When I say that has been me majority of my life, bro. Like it got to a point where I was suicidal because of that.
Hmm.
Like I had neglected myself for such a long time to where I didn't know who I was. Like when I got out of the military and I had rap, I was in the military for 10 years. My my adult life from 21 to 31, I wrapped my life around that. Like that was me. That was everything about me. I wanted to do a full 20. That was me. I got out in 2016 and I didn't know who I was. Once I hung up the uniform, who am I? And so in this search for all these identities that I can belong to or these things like something wasn't right within, right? Like that Lauren, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? Like that was something that kept hitting home. Like, who are you? Like all these little things that you're trying to be, that's not you. That's going against everything that you stand for, or that's against going everything that you know down deep inside that is the right, and trying to fit into these little circles, and it got exhausted, bro. It got exhausting, and I just screw it. There's no need for me to be here. What's the point?
Right.
Like I have no purpose. What's the point of me even trying to live? Like there's no point. And one, that's when I started going to therapy really heavy. But that's also when my journey to really figure out who I am, like really started. Like, what does Theo like? Like, it started really small. Like, what do I like? Like, what's even my, like, I had I questioned God, I questioned my values, I questioned everything that I ever known, because none of that was working for me at that moment, at that age. None of it was working. The Bible wasn't working. The verses that I learned as a kid wasn't working. Like, and then people might be like, well, why is that? Like, they just wasn't work. I could no longer ignore the fact that I tried to spiritually bypass my whole entire life by quoting a Bible scripture, by relying so heavily on the religious part of my life that it didn't connect to who I was anymore, and qu- questioning my value system. Like, I know these are my parents' values, but Theo, what are your values? Do you really believe that? Have you done a research? Have you solidified in your heart that that's really what you believe? Do you really like that type of music, or is that just because you're expected to, because you're black, or because you're a guy and this is what you do? Or do you even really like that, or was that just because you were in the military and that's what all y'all military people do?
Right.
Do you even really like wearing that, or is that just, you're just trying to? I was questioning things left and right, and it got exhausting. But it was something that helped me solidify who I am today. Going through that journey, really, like, discovering who I am, and even in that, I'm still figuring it out, because I'm not dead yet. So my life isn't over. So I
Hmm.
still have a lot of things about myself that I don't know.
Right.
Even now, when I'm having conversations, it's like, is that really what you meant to say, or could you have found a different way to say that more aligns with you?
Right.
And so I will go look up the words and figure out how to say something, because I want to make sure that it's in alignment with who I am. And so, yeah, it's, bro,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, I do want to touch on this comment that Erica made from Dope Discussions Live. I understood imposter syndrome to be that a person is doing something or exists in a space, but internally they don't feel qualified or deserving. So here's where I want to go with this, because y'all know I don't just take things for face value, right? We started off
Mhm.
talking about imposter syndrome, right? And then technically, what she's saying is true. So you take a person that feels undeserving or unqualified, but you take that person, you put them here, that person then has to cope with that.
Mhm.
And when they cope with that, one of the coping mechanisms is to change who you are. That's where I was going with this. Yes,
Mhm.
technically that is the definition, but where does one go after they start to feel like that? Like, a lot of people sit in it
Mhm.
and they get depressed. They may get anxiety about it. But there's a lot of us that know that we got to show up in spaces and do what we got to do. And we literally change to fit the narrative so that we don't have to feel like that. But it has the
Mhm.
opposite effect. So that was that.
That,
That's
yeah,
that's where I
yeah.
wanted to go with this show. Like, we started off in a place, but I wanted to get down to how, and I do this on everything I do. I want to get down to how it feels.
Mhm.
I don't just want to define it. I want to get into the heart of what we
Mhm.
do when we feel like this. How does it feel in real life, and what do we do when we feel like this? Do we tuck our heads, or do we say, you know what? Let me change this about myself so they can like me, so I don't have to feel like that. That's what this show. That's where I was going with that, Erica. So yes, you are correct, my friend. Um, so
But Derek, is it easier to change yourself or change your circumstances? Like, some people might say, okay, well, right, and I don't want to get, ahead of the ball a little bit, but it's kind of like the the self development lane right now is saying, change yourself, change, become, right?
mhm.
But what if you already are? What if you are? So now I have to become something else, or do I become a better version of myself, or does that mean discarding who I am now? And that is something that recently I've started to question. Like, are we pushing, in the coaching lane, are we pushing people to change themselves versus changing the situation? Because the reason why they keep, I'm brain, moment is like the reason why people keep seeking out help is because they've changed themselves so much. The situation is still the same, but they've changed themselves to fit the situation versus fitting the situation according. Because when are you going to be willing to walk away? At what point do you say, you know what, I don't like it here,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
done?
my whole platform, dude. That's my whole relationship platform. Why do you stay in these environments that don't suit you? And it's the revolving cycle of terror, I call it,
Mm-hmm.
and you still keep doing it. So it's my job to show you that if you take yourself out of, yes, self-development, work on you, love you, but take yourself out of that, and I say detox, breathe for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and really
Mm-hmm.
figure out where you really need to be, and then you can go back and re-engage with a new vision, with a new focus. So yeah, I totally get that. I wish we all could move in that way. We always take
Right.
the path what we always do what we think is the path of least resistance, because
Right.
changing the environment requires more work. It's uncomfortable to change the environment. I'd rather just,
Mm-hmm.
like they say, stick with the devil. You go where, even if it's toxic to you, you stay there because you at least what you're getting, instead of stepping away from it and coming out better. So yeah,
Boy,
yeah,
that's such a dangerous way to live, bro. I really am starting to hate and loathe um, that that whole saying. It is what it is. Like, that's what I feel like we're telling people. It's like, yeah, the circumstances. It's like, change yourself to fit that narrative.
yeah,
Like, the narrative is what it is, so change yourself to fit. And but then you kind of like, mm, that's not gonna work. That's not sustainable.
yeah. And I'm not like super old, but on this end of my life, I could definitely tell anybody younger than me that what you're saying is absolutely true. Cause I did it all. I did all of the conforming and imposter. You got to think about it. We talked about nerds, right?
Mhm.
Most nerds at a certain point, if they didn't have a lot of self confidence because of how we were treated or how we were perceived. Not now, because smart people are sexy now, but back then
There you go.
we wanted to be popular
Mhm.
because those were the accepted people. Like, imposter syndrome set in real early,
Yeah.
but there was no parts of me that could be that. Right? That's not me. It was tough to
Mm.
know in your heart that you couldn't be that. You didn't look like that,
Mhm. Mhm.
but you wanted to be accepted. So there was a long part of my life where I always tell people about Billy, the predator.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Billy. Where?
Billy
Where? Where?
changed
What
into
happened to
whatever the
Billy?
hell he had to change into. So
Was Billy like Tommy from Martin? Like, just like, just get the draws. Like, that's it. Like,
no, 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 no.
that wasn't Billy.
Billy wasn't about draws, and this is a slight tangent, guys. Billy wasn't about draws. Billy was about feeling the emotional connection. That was
Mm.
Billy's driver. Now, sometimes the byproduct of being emotionally attached is draws,
Mm.
but
Okay.
that wasn't the motivator, right? But that made him even more dangerous than the people that are just going out for the draws, because they are going for the emotional connection first, right? But in
Mm.
order to do that, depending on your environment, you had to show up differently every time. So if you're dealing with somebody that likes somebody that's more aggressive, you turn into that guy. You want
Mm.
somebody more romantic, you turn into that guy, and you do what you have to do to get that emotional connection from the person.
Mm.
So that's why I do what I do, because I know it intimate. I got street cred with this with this stuff. You want to know how it's done? Ask your boy, because yeah,
Billy knows. Billy knows.
Billy knows. Billy had about 500 personalities, man.
Wow. Wow.
Maybe closer to 100, but it was a lot.
That's a
So
lot to
anyway,
manage, man.
let's see here. Yeah, I think we're gonna start wrapping it up now. I think we've done enough damage here. Hopefully everybody got some value out of this. Hopefully you saw yourself in this and really understand what this really looks like and feels like. Um, so so they talk they talk about Billy now. Billy was diabolical. Yeah, yeah. It's a cursed with a little bit of gift, because the gift is now I can enlighten people not just to the type of person that does this, but I can tell you where that person comes from emotionally. I can tell you what the motivations are. I can tell you what to look out for. But it sucks because people had to be hurt in order for me to get this knowledge.
Right.
So it's a yeah, it sucks, but I've helped a lot of people move differently because I can literally see these type of people, male or female. I can tell you who they are in like like you tell me one conversation, two conversations, I can be like, yep, because people choose. Like I'm a mad scientist. Certain word choices, certain managed, the way you would arrange the words, the voice inflections, what you laugh at, all of that stuff paints a picture about your character, maybe the area that you grew up in, and you can really vet. Like I'm sick with it, but human behavior is like my thing. Like I pay attention to all of that. And so some people don't even realize that they have a tell. Like you can tell where people are coming, what angle they're coming from, what their motives are, just by having a couple conversations. But people don't realize
Yeah.
this stuff until like 3 months later and be
Wait,
like, oh
right,
no.
and
And I'm
until
like,
it's
no,
way,
what did they
way,
say on the
way
first
late.
conversation? Oh, that's what it was right there. So it's not everybody can do it as fast as I can, but there's very little things that most people like. There may be like 5 different things that people do that may be a predatory thing. So if you know what those 5 things are, even if it comes in with a little nuance, it still falls into category number 1. So that's what I try to teach people. Number 1, number 2, the best defense you have against a predator is your boundaries. It's an offense game, not a defense. People always want. I know this isn't the topic, but sometimes things happen like this because somebody needs to hear it. So that's why I kind of let it
Do
live
it.
for a little bit. But a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people don't realize that they let that stuff go because they're so emotionally attached. That's the whole ploy, is to get you emotional fast, so you don't see what I'm doing. There's if you I was talking about offense and defense. Everybody, that's where I was going. Everybody wants to know what the predator is going to do. Why are they choosing me? What did he? No. Keep your boundaries intact. They only get as far as you let them. So it doesn't matter what they do. Stop trying to calculate what they might do. You don't allow access to stuff that they haven't earned. And most predators are not going to want to work that hard. So they're going to be like, dang, she really is using her logical part of her brain. I'm not going to be able to get her to an emotional space fast. And that doesn't mean they're not going to go away immediately, but they're going to be pissed. They're going to be like, what the hell? Like, she's not giving me access,
Right.
and this normally works. And that's one of your best defenses. It may not work every time because there's a lot of good liars out there, but if you stick by what you will and won't accept, most of them will not be able to get through it. Most of them. That was one of the things that I hated back then, was somebody that says, you're not available or accessible when you said you were. I don't know if you're playing the game or not, but I'm gonna need you to lose my number. Don't feel right. Imagine how that feels to somebody that's used to getting success all the time. I can't do anything with that type of person.
Right.
I can't do anything.
Because you know they're yeah.
And that speaks to women's intuition, ladies. That's where that came. Doesn't feel right. Your movements don't make sense. Sir, I don't know if you playing the game or not, but if it continues like this, I'm going to need you to just go ahead and do what you're doing. Have fun with that. You ever seen the Tasmanian Devil? They dudes be like, I can't use my magic now.
Oh no, I melt like
Yeah.
Thanos, like
Yeah.
you start like
They get
fading
Erica
away.
said in the comments, she's too masculine because she's being logical. They will try to gaslight the hell out of you to mute down your logical self and your intelligence. It's stupid. You know we see this on Clubhouse and all these other spaces all the time, man. But
It's sad.
so anyway, we're gonna wrap this up, sir. We gotta do this again though. This was fun.
We do. So no. So real quick before we go though, like, so when we're talking about imposter syndrome, like how do people recognize or know when to take a step back and realize, okay, they are worthy to be in the space, or this space doesn't fit their core values and they should leave? I know that sounds like a simple question, but
I was not simple.
how do people get to the point where they finally can say, you know what, this ain't for me?
That's not an easy answer. Cause I had to overcome that. And like I said, most of my life went by before I even realized that I was good enough, or that I was even matter of fact, even in this relationship coaching space, right? The first year, I didn't believe that I was good enough, or that I had enough credentials, or like everybody else that was out there. How dare you call me an expert? I hated people saying, oh, you know what, guru. I don't even like it now. But one of my friends told me, and she owns her own business coaching as well, and she said, do you know what you're talking about? And I said, yeah. She was like, all of these shows that you do built your resume of what you know that you're talking about. So she was like, you are a subject matter expert, Derek. So stop acting like you don't know what you're talking about. Go get what's yours. And I still dealt with it for a long time, but there's a point, because if you really are really dealing with imposter syndrome, it should feel uncomfortable, right? It should feel uncomfortable that you don't feel like you belong in a space, or you don't feel like you're good enough. It's always depressing, right? It's like when you live in that space, you start to believe those voices in your head. And sometimes you may not be able to come out of it on your own. Just like somebody had to slap me with that information before I was like, you know what? Like now, the way I'm operating now, the way I talk now, when I'm on my IG lives, when I'm on here, you can't tell me nothing now. Because I'm not going to let somebody tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I live this. So but it took me a long time to get there. It was that place where you sit and you're looking at like, maybe I don't belong here. That's hard. Because when you couple that with all of our other traumas and our identity and all of that stuff, it's tough. I don't even have a pretty answer. I mean, the most I could say is it's really about self-awareness. It's really about loving yourself. I know it sounds cliche, but until you figure out who you are, you're not going to be able to show up as yourself if you don't even know who you are. And most of us don't.
Well, there it is, folks. Now you know. If you didn't know, now you know.
So, like I said, I'm about to be 49 in December, right?
Yeah.
I did not really embrace my full self until I had a 4 in front of my age. So that's most of my life where I was pretending and conforming for everyone else. Even like I always talk about my show, when I first started, I had charts and graphs and percentages, and because I'm thinking that this is what everybody wants to see. They want to see a professor. They want to see all of this stuff. And I was like, that's a part of me, but that part of me I built to please other people. And that's when I was like, let me peel that layer off and just talk and just be
That's a gut
myself.
check. Right.
And people started to gravitate towards it when they really felt like they was talking to one of their own, like they was talking to
Hmm.
their big brother or their cousin, and that made people start to follow me more because I was my organic self. But it didn't dawn on me that it, like, even my wife was like, Derek, you're doing too much at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. People don't want to use their brains like that and with these graphs and stuff. She was like, just talk. So it took outside. So the moral to the story is, it took somebody to shake me for me to
Hmm.
see it. And everybody doesn't necessarily have that, but it took a long time. Cause like I always talk about
Wow.
on this show, so a lot of us become what we think our parents want us to be, or what
Mm.
all of that, and we live. But yeah. So I'm gonna read Erica's comment real quick. I was able to overcome my imposter syndrome by admitting that I don't always have the answers, and I don't have to. My experience and my willingness to learn qualifies me. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So we gonna
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
We gonna wrap this up, man. We gonna have to do this again though.
Yeah, we
Um,
got to, man. We
we
got
gotta do
to.
this
I
again.
loved it.
Even if it's an
I
IG
loved
live or something, man. We gotta do this again.
it.
Um,
Yes.
so let's tell the people how they could find you and
Okay.
some of the stuff that you got your hands in, sir.
All right. All right. So y'all can find me on IG. I go by Theo_Brown.T. Um, that's my IG. Or you could go to Pathfinders 180, Pathfinders180.com. That's the website for the community that I'm a leader of. Or you can go to Pathfinders 180 on IG page and follow us on there as well. And what PATH stands for is Pursuing Authenticity Through Healing. That is what PATH stands for. And we are always in search of that. We're on this journey together. We're on this journey as people. We're growing together. So if you want to be part of that community, it is a private community. It does have a cost associated with it. It's a monthly cost because the time that I put in to create the content for it and the time that I do put in for the calls. We do 2 calls a month, second Monday of the month and last Monday of the month. So it's depending on the scheduling, but or if it's a 5 week month, which is crazy because this year has like 3 of them. So that's one way to get in contact with us or contact with me, or just hit me up on the IG. Let me know, and we can connect that way as well.
Right.
Other than that, if you are in the search for the authentic coaching or the authenticity coaching or identity coaching, and you are in a place where you feel as if you don't belong in a certain space because you don't feel good enough, you feel that you face too much rejection or too much um, too much rejection, and you don't know how to deal with that, let me know. We can work something out, and I can walk you through that journey because that's literally my life. And you don't feel like you're good enough, you don't feel like you're worthy enough. Listen, that's been my story, that's been my life, and I can help you get to where you're finally looking at yourself and saying, I love you to yourself and feeling that you're worthy enough. Life is a lot easier when you live it on your terms
Yeah.
than living on somebody else's terms. And so I can guarantee, I don't guarantee much of anything, but I can guarantee that life is a lot better when you know who you are and you are walking within your own values, within your own self. So hit me up, let me know. And that's
Yeah.
it.
This dude is changing lives out here, man. If y'all, like I said, I did my research, man. There's folks that's in that Pathfinder thing. They like, thank you so much. Life changing. It's not just a thing that they do. They was like, it felt like I got a new family. Like dude, I read everything. I went through every post.
And I appreciate that. I mean, like, there's a lot more that I didn't post just because I'm like, it's a fairly new community, but it's been going on for 2 years. I just decided to actually officiate it as a community, just because of how many people were coming to it and how many people were having via calls. I was like, okay, hey, because I wanted to structure it differently, and I wanted to put more work behind it besides just simple conversations. But I wanted to actually put like some work behind that. So that's where the the cost associated with is. It is literally less than a gallon. Okay, I can't say it was less than a gallon of gas now, but it's probably less than a tank of gas at the moment on a monthly basis. But it is worth being a part of. I get something out of it every call that we have. Wonderful people in that community that you can grow with. A lot of creatives, and it seems like us creatives are the ones who have these imposter syndromes quite a lot. So if that's you and you're out here, join us and let me know what you think. Yep.
Yeah, I attract those people, and I attract a whole lot of introverts.
Yeah. Me too. It's weird. It's like, but I'm an extrovert introvert though, so it works. It works. I get both sides of the fence.
Right. All right, we getting out of here, guys. Make sure. Let me plug my old stuff. Make sure.
Go ahead, Derek.
Make sure you go to relationshipgumbo.info and check out everything that I'm on. I think this weekend I am on Erica's show on Dope Discussions Live, so make sure you check her out and follow her as well. Erica and Gator on that show, and that's going to be a good show too. And always go to RealShopTalk.net for the men's panel every Monday at 8 p.m. So yeah, just follow me, man, and follow me on IG. The IG, what's today? I'm probably gonna do a pop-up IG live tomorrow at some point midday. So we'll see.
What you gonna talk about, Derek?
I don't even know. I just let it come to me, and then it just kind of goes from there. So
I love it.
So anyway, we out of here, guys. Thank you guys for coming. Make sure that you stay safe, and just keep coming back. You got good things coming. I know y'all waiting on those courses to come. I am
Let's go.
Close. When the courses come, y'all are gonna be amazing. Like those of you who follow me, y'all gonna get the organic Derek. But the people who don't know my platform, they're gonna be pleasantly surprised because I don't do any. Like I'm so against the corporate Derek that this thing is just gonna feel like you sitting in your living room. And that's what I wanted to feel like. The first course is called To Catch a Predator, something I know intimately. So we're gonna go do a deep dive and have modules. And the reason why, this is just me telling you guys, the reason why it's taking so long is it's not like show up to this Zoom class. It's going to be a whole production. There's going to be a companion app that you can download to tie into the thing, and you can do it from your phone or your tablet. It's going to have quizzes and PDFs you can download. It's going to be amazing. So it's taking a little longer than I thought, but I want to make sure that thing come off the way I want it to, because I care about you guys, and I want to make sure that y'all get what y'all want, and you can get it on demand and get it whenever you want, 24 hours a day. And it's gonna be good. So anyway, thank y'all for coming. God bless and good night.
Okay. All right, y'all.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship